Welcome. In this video we continue with Spring Authorization Server and two-factor authentication. We are going to configure another way to store the authentication. In the previous video we used a class authentication store. In this video we use an MFA authentication class which extends the anonymous authentication token. We start with a diagram of the app. The diagram starts with the GetRequestLogin and the login page where we enter a username and password. If we close the page we have no authentication and have to start over. If we enter the data and click on Login, we go to the login request post. Here we check if the data is correct. In the event of an error, we return to the login page via a simple URL authentication failure handler with an error message. If the data is correct, we go to the MFA authentication. Here we create an anonymous authentication token and we also store the primary authentication that we receive from the post-login endpoint in this token. The next step is the GetAuthenticator endpoint. This endpoint shows the authenticator page where we have to enter a code. If we close the page early, we will not get authentication and have to start over. If the code is wrong we go back to the GetAuthenticator endpoint and see the authenticator page. If the code is correct, we retrieve the primary authentication and receive a valid access token. We start with the code in Eclipse. In this video we will only go over the changed code. We have explained all the other code in the previous videos in this series. We start with the security config class. In the second security filter chain bean we have a request matchers authenticator with a has authority, role MFA required. And in the form login a success handler and a failure handler. Last in the class we have the authentication success handler bean of type saved request aware authentication success handler. In the MFA handler we have a security context repository, authentication success handler, and the authority. In the constructor we configure the simple URL authentication success handler with the success URL and set always use default target URL to true. In the onAuthentication success method we create a new MFA authentication and save it in the security context. In the MFA authentication class which extends anonymous authentication token, we create an anonymous user with a special role and also save the primary authentication for later use. The last class we need to go over is the login controller. We have here the security context repository, authentication failure handler, and the authentication success handler. In addition to the custom login, we have GetRequest for the authenticator and the post request. In the GetRequest we show the page to enter the code. We check the entered code in the post request endpoint. For now this is simply 123. If the code is wrong we go to the authenticator failure handler which then returns us to the page. If the code is correct, the primary authentication is loaded from the security context and we receive a valid access token via the authentication success handler. That's it for this video. As always you can find the code on GitHub. You can also always post questions and comments in the comments below this video, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. This afternoon we will post a second video with multi-factor authentication. Thank you.